So I was born in a little town called Gravois Mills, Missouri, population 34. I'm of Jewish descent. My father's a strict Orthodox Jew. My mother is also Ashkenazi Jewish, which means we're European Jews. We speak Yiddish, which is a German dialect. And when I was about 10 years old, I was reading in the Jerusalem Talmud, and it said that the day that they killed Yeshua and the two thieves, and Yeshua being the Hebrew name for, not the exact name, because we won't never say his exact name because we feel like it's defined in the third commandment, which means you should not take his name in vain. And Yeshua, it said that after that day there were no more meetings of the Sanhedrin held in the Hall of Hewn Stones. Well, at that time I went to school some part of the day with some Catholics and different Christian type people. I never really met a black person up until this day. And we had moved to New York City. I was living in the city. I lived on 23rd and Lexington Avenue, which is downtown Manhattan, very rich type neighborhood. And I asked my dad about this, and he said, well, there was an earthquake that day. You know, history tells us about it. And he has some other different scriptures that the Christians aren't allowed to read. And I read it, and it sent me on a journey, because at that time I thought, what if that Jesus guy that they're talking about is really this Yeshua, and all this is really true? So when I was 11 years old, I jumped out my bedroom window, because whenever I went to my bar mitzvah, instead of reciting a Torah portion from the first 5 books of the law, I recited the book of Luke chapter 1, which I believe is a very important book, because it tells you who John the Baptist really was. Aaron was a descendant. His father Zechariah was a descendant of Aaron, and so was his mother Elizabeth. They were both descendants of Aaron. That makes him a priest, a high priest. So what's a high priest doing out running around the woods? But the whole thing, whenever you do something against the synagogue, you are not only excommunicated, but they have a funeral for you. So when I was 11 years old, they had my funeral, kicked me out of the synagogue, even though I'd never even officially been entered into it. And they also reprimanded my father, which was a very bad thing for both of us. And so I decided that my best thing to do at this time was, because my beliefs were becoming a little different, was to leave home. So I jumped out the bedroom window, and I've never been back, and now I'm 60 years old. So it kind of began a life of adventure. I've never regretted really a day of it, except for the times when I hurt people. Those were times, those things will never leave my mind. And when I became 13 years old, I was arrested in St. Louis, Missouri, at the airport as a homeless person. And my dad said I needed to see a judge, so we saw a judge, and he asked me why I wouldn't stay at home. And I said, you can put me wherever you want, and I won't say I'll never go home. And he said, well, he had no choice but to hand me over to the Division of Youth Services, which began a new journey. For the next 4 years, I belonged to the Division of Youth Services. In Boonville, when I was 16 years old, at that time was reform school, I passed my GED, and when I was 17, I went to H Hall for 30 days, and the Army recruiter came and got me and rescued me. They sent me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, gave me $70, the number to an M16, 3 sets of clothes, and told me to be in formation at 0400 hours Monday morning. I went straight from a jail cell to having a weapon and $70 in my pocket and a beer machine in the pool hall. And I loved it. I loved being American. I loved being in the military. I loved, what was happening, even though I really didn't agree with all the military things that were going on at the time. And I was to learn later on, some different things about it, but at that time, I have, today when they say, are you homeless? I'm not homeless. Anytime I'm talking to another American, I'm not homeless, because I'm in my country, and I'm talking to a fellow American. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, whatever. I'm past all that. I got past all that when I turned 13, went to reform school, and met the guys from Peabody Project in North Grand Avenue. They were rough guys. They were all in Boone Cottage, and when we messed up down in Twain Cottage, they'd come down and visit us, and they would scrub our hands and feet on the shower floor, and we scrubbed the little tiles with a toothbrush, each and every one. And there's more to say about Boonville, but I won't say that right now. But there were some good teachers there, and I got a good education there, and I've never regretted that. While in the military, I had to do things that I really didn't agree with, but I did things for my country, and so my people could, what I believed at the time, my people in this country could continue to live the lives that they lived. And ever since 1992, after I got out of the military, I've pretty much just been wandering around. There's a whole lot more to this story. My best friend got killed by the police. Everybody believes a lie, things like that. I found out that Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Messiah, really is the Son of God. And I didn't come to that through faith. I come to it through study and knowledge of things that I found out. You know, even things that have to do with constellations and different things like that are kind of important. But anyway, since 1992, I've kind of wandered around. I have periods of time whenever I walk away from home, and the streets were in me when I was a kid, and they'll never leave me. I have to keep going back to them, and I don't regret it a bit, because no matter what anybody says or thinks, the people that really matter in this world are out here. There's some good people out here. I went to North County. I got a job several months ago with a black man doing remodeling, and I went to North County. I was in 5 different North County homes, all black people, and I tell you what, those people treated me with nothing but respect, honest respect, and integrity. And I love these people, and this is my home. Anywhere on the streets is my home, and I'll always be here. And I have 2 children. I was married twice. I was a wife beater for some years until I learned that my father taught me wrong about that, and I was able to change those things in my life. And people think, well, you wander around the streets, you're alone or whatever, blah, blah. No, I've been blessed. God takes care of me. When I need something, I ask him for it, he gives it to me. And that's a fact. And I've learned to know Yahweh by being in my own, having my own conversations with him. I keep my Sabbath, and I've done drugs all my life. I quit doing crack, and I quit smoking, and I quit shooting heroin. All I do now is smoke a little weed, and that's about it. And I try to help all the people I can over on North Broadway. They are welcome in my house anytime. I have people there every week, homeless people that just wander around, and I feed them, and I go over to these food banks and get food so that they'll have something to eat, and I'll be able to feed them. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but that's what's going on right now. So I appreciate the opportunity to tell this a little bit. I mean, there's a lot more to it. I just kind of hit the highlights of stuff. But
if you had a chance to go back and talk to a young Mr. Barrie, knowing what you know today, if you can go back and talk to your younger self, what would you tell him?
Respect my parents would be what I would tell them to do, because that's the thing I failed to do. I haven't talked to my parents in years. I don't even know if my mom is alive. I don't know, you know, something like I left home a year ago again, it'll be a year ago this month, and I haven't talked to anybody really at home or anything. It's not that I don't love them or anything, it's just I get lost out here, and it's like all of a sudden it'll be a different month, and I have post-traumatic stress disorder real bad, and I don't take medication for it. I don't think I need medication. I got that disease, or whatever they call it, long before they ever knew what the name of it was. They tried to diagnose me with this and that. I don't get military benefits, even though I have an honorable discharge, because I'm not going to argue with them people down there about filing a claim and any of that crap. I don't need their money. All I need is just be sitting right here in this country, on my soil, and that's where I belong. That's what I fought for, and that's what my friends died for, and that's what we're all about here. White, black, it doesn't matter. That's way in the past as far as I'm concerned, especially in St. Louis, Missouri. There's not a racial issue here unless it's up in the high echelons of things. These people down here are awesome. That's all I can say about it. So,
what are some tips that you can give somebody who's thinking about getting out on the streets and faring for themselves, saying, I don't want to listen to my parents, I don't want to follow the rules? What would you tell them?
Rules are there for all of us, you know, because without rules there would be just chaos, you know. In order to keep this country great and to keep our people great, you know, we have to be disciplined. And I see these kids today, they don't want to work, you know, and I don't know how you're going to make it without learning how to work. You know, I'm glad I learned how to dig a ditch. I'm glad I can wash dishes. I'm glad I can mechanic or whatever it takes to get me where I'm at. You have to be like a chameleon in all this, you know, and you have to learn more than just one thing, you know. You can't limit yourself to, you know, you can't put those blinders on and just not see things. You've got to be in order to experience it the right way, I think you got to be part of it. And the only way to be part of it is to do it. And the respect thing, is all just part of life. We should all have respect. I don't know why people nowadays don't think they need to have that. I don't understand it. Everybody's life should be based on honesty and integrity, because one of these days you're going to die. And how are you going to be remembered? Oh, that guy, he was just a junkie, he robbed people. What good is that doing in the world? You're taking away from the world. You're not giving to the world. We need to give to the world because everybody needs something here, and the population's getting bigger. We all need to give, not take. And so that's why, people steal my stuff over there. It's okay because God just gives it back to me 3 times every time they do, and I can prove that. So, but you have to be in tune with Him in order to receive His blessings. You have to be in conversation with Him in order to receive His blessings. He wants you to know who He is. He's our master. On the 7th day, He can get tired to put His feet up on the hassock and rest. That's a bunch of crap. The 7th day, 7 in the Hebrew means Sheba, and it's a holy number. It means the end and the beginning, and it's a spiritual thing. And on the 7th day, I sit at my Father's table. I'm His subject, and I sit at His table, and He honors me because I respect Him. And because I respect Him, He respects me, and He lets me wander around out here and see all this great stuff. And you can't never take that away from somebody that's experienced it.
In closing, Mr. Barrie, we appreciate you sitting with us and talking, but if there's anybody who may be looking for you, wondering if you're okay, wondering if you're all right, now's the time you can say something in closing to them.
Dad, I'm sorry that I didn't ever get to be a son for you, but things didn't turn out as bad as you thought. You think I'm a drug addict, and you think this and that, but it's far from the truth. I'm just out here because I love you, and I live on truth and respect and integrity. Those are the things I stand by. And you probably think, how can that be? When the things you saw me do when I was young and stuff, I had to learn, and I didn't have anybody to teach me. I was on my own. I went through some rough times, but I come out all right. I'm okay. I didn't die with a needle in my arm. I didn't die because I smoked crack and stuff, and I didn't go to prison because I robbed people. I was in prison, but it's all because of just drugs and silly things, and not listening to the authority. So, I love you, Dad, and I hope you've had a good life, and I just want you to know that your son is okay, and I would like to come and see you. I would like to be that son that I wasn't able to be, but I can still be that son here. And God will tell you what's going on. He's not going to let you leave you in the dark on this because He knows that you love Him too. So, thank you.
We appreciate you, Mr. Barrie. Thank you so much.
Yeah.